The kingdom of Dai Viet is no more. A storm came from the north and plunged the land into darkness. Torn apart by civil war, the kingdom drew the hungry eyes of the Ming Emperor. He sent an immense force armed with weapons of fire and smoke to conquer Dai Viet. The Vietnamese people stood no chance against such a menace. Foreign soldiers entered the villages and occupied the land. While the Vietnamese aristocracy collaborated and prospered, the common people suffered. The invaders imposed harsh taxes on the people and destroyed many of the holy places. The Vietnamese needed a hero, and that hero was Le Loi. Although the son of a nobleman himself, Le Loi despised the aristocracy who had sided with the enemy. When the Chinese came, he fled north to the lands of his family. There in the hills, he was outside the reach of the Chinese while he organized the resistance. Vastly outnumbered by the large Ming army, Le Loi knew he could not defeat them in open battle, so he turned to guerrilla warfare. He raided Ming camps to steal supplies and gave them to the starving farmers. Le Loi's resistance could only succeed through planting
There we go.
seeds of rebellion. The resistance began slowly and with only minor successes, but Le Loi's reputation grew each day. The people started calling him the Peacemaking King and wanted to see him on the throne of the Old Kingdom. The Ming heard rumors of this rebel king and vowed to crush him before his seeds of rebellion could take root.
Love the hellos. Alright, let's go.
Disaster struck the Vietnamese rebels when the Ming defeated them in battle and forced them to retreat to the Chi Lin mountain fortress. Encircled by a large Chinese army and with no hope of help from the outside, Le Loi's situation became grim. Supplies would not last long, and the Ming cannons had already begun to batter the old walls of the fortress. The end of Le Loi and his rebellion seemed imminent. Just as defeat seemed inevitable, Le Loi's second-in-command, Le Lai, and his men sacrificed their lives to save what was left of the Vietnamese rebellion. They mounted their horses and led a final charge right into the Ming besiegers. In the ensuing confusion, Le Loi and the rest of the army escaped through the fortress drainage system. One witness who saw the charge said that he saw the spirits of the Vietnamese ancestors riding along Le Lai and his men as they plunged into the lines of Ming pikes. It was a sad day for Le Loi and the Vietnamese. They had lost much, and all that remained of the resistance was smoldering ashes and dead bodies. However, the tale of Chi Lin spread throughout Vietnam and lit the spark of resistance. The Vietnamese people were no longer willing to tolerate the Ming occupation.
Let's begin.
People from all over Vietnam came to Le Loi, even veterans of old forgotten wars and boys barely old enough to carry weapons. Le Loi needed to use the momentum of the rebellion to deal a decisive blow to the Ming forces. The rebel army would strike at the old capital of Hanoi. Hanoi was captured, and now all of the southern Ming occupation forces were cut off from China. The Chinese emperor was furious with the failure of his generals. Therefore, he sent his most capable general, Wang Tong, to Vietnam. Wang was a veteran of many wars against the nomads of the north and a brilliant tactician. If anyone would be able to challenge Le Loi, it would be him.
Right, with that cringe out of the way.
With Hanoi under Le Loi's control, the Chinese retreated behind the walls of the larger towns and cities to the south. There, they would wait for Wang Tong, the approaching Ming general. Le Loi had to act quickly, but he could not underestimate the Ming. The garrisons had large stockpiles of gunpowder, and Wang Tong's army marched at a frantic pace to reach the besieged cities. Le Loi had to quickly turn his peasant rabble into a real army that could face the finest Ming soldiers in open battle. After capturing a major citadel with its gunpowder stores intact, Le Loi was able to take several key towns and hold off Wang Tong and his army. Wang Tong knew that his position was poor, and so he retreated to strengthen his supply lines and replenish his forces. For now, there would be no battle. Le Loi marched further south with Wang Tong and his army following closely and gaining strength. Under Le Loi's leadership, the Vietnamese rebellion turned from a rabble of peasants to a real army. Their warships lined up like clouds, their armor shone against the sun, their firearms piled up, and the gunpowder stockpiles were full. Finally, Le Loi would be able to face the full brunt of the Ming forces. Wang Tong had been close on Le Loi's tail, watching his every move like a stalking tiger, waiting for Le Loi to make a mistake. Le Loi did not have the luxury of time. Every week he waited, more Ming soldiers would arrive. He needed to consolidate his holdings quickly. Despite the risk, Le Loi split his troops to deal with the Ming garrisons, the Northern Army, and the hostile tribes to the west. This was the moment Wang Tong had been waiting for, and the tiger pounced on the divided and vulnerable Vietnamese forces. Against all odds, Le Loi's generals held off the Ming army. The Chinese lost many soldiers, and even one of their generals. These losses meant that they would never again hold the advantage in the war. The Ming could only defend their remaining holdings from Le Loi's inevitable victory. Without more Chinese troops, not even a general as talented as Wang Tong would be able to stop the Vietnamese army.
Because you know he'd love it.
Dong Do was the last fortress in Ming hands. Wang Tong sent for aid, but reinforcements would not be able to reach him easily while Le Loi held the north and the coastlines. Still, Wang Tong's fortress was well fortified and well supplied. If this fortress could hold out long enough, a new Ming army, now marching from China, would break the Vietnamese army and send Le Loi and his men back into the hills. The war was only one battle away from being over, and the fate of Vietnam hung in the balance. The Ming were defeated on the battlefield, and the last fortress fell. Le Loi and Wang Tong met for the first time and agreed to a truce. It was apparent that the two had great respect for each other. The remaining Ming soldiers, numbering more than 80,000, were now at the mercy of the Vietnamese. Le Loi was lenient, however, and spared their lives. He invited the Ming generals to a lavish banquet and allowed all of the Ming soldiers to return to China unharmed. He even provided ships to transport them and released all prisoners that were taken in the war. Le Loi knew that the Ming emperor would never give up while his honor was at stake. To make sure the emperor would not lose face and to secure the future of Vietnam, he sent lavish gifts to the emperor and offered Dai Viet as an independent tributary state of the Ming. It was a small price to pay for peace and stability. Le Loi became emperor, and his dynasty would reign over an independent Vietnam for centuries. Le Loi would forever be known as the hero of the people of Vietnam.